from what we saw.
Thank you. Ms. Haaland, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Madam Chair, thank you for convening today's hearing. As a mother, as an Indigenous woman, and as a proud member of this committee, I'm deeply saddened and disturbed to hear about the loss of Specialist Vanessa Guillen. And I understand I'm not alone in feeling this way. I send my heartfelt condolences to Gloria and Myra, Vanessa's mother and sister, to the men and women in our military communities and our witnesses here today who are also grieving and searching for answers. I, too, wish that circumstances were different and that Congress could have done more sooner to address the pervasive climate of sexual harassment and assault in our military. I hope today's hearing will lead us down a relentless path towards swift military justice reforms, which from my colleagues saying they have waited a long time for these things, and protections for all of our men and women who serve. Colonel Wempe, I understand the Inspector General's inspection at Fort Hood concluded the SHARP program is executed as prescribed and meets Army standards. Yet many military women have come forward to share their own personal stories of sexual harassment and a sexual assault. These women have shared they've been overlooked and silenced. How do you rectify your findings with the real lived experiences of these women? And is there something that's being overlooked?
Congresswoman, the execution of the program to standard, sort of the programmatics of the SHARP program, that was one of the objectives that we looked at. And that was really focused on, are they doing the training? Are they doing the training consistently? What is the level of awareness of soldiers of the SHARP program itself? And all of that was very strong from what we saw with the units that we inspected. Probably more critical for the question may be that the objective of our inspection that also looked at climate, because so much of the climate affects not just whether or not the incidents happen, but what happens after an incident happens. And so we put a lot of focus on that objective, the one of climate. And although it is true that both from the survey information and the subjective information we got from talking to soldiers, trust in the leaders to take it seriously was very high. Trust in the willingness to report was also high. That doesn't preclude the experience of individual soldiers. And we know that incidents are still occurring. I mean, common sense says that, our survey indicated that, and certainly the DoD statistics indicate that. So we know that incidents are still occurring. We know that there is work to do, really focusing, I think, on that 16 or 17% and why they are not reporting and how we can make it more comfortable or easier for them to report. I think that's very important. So that we really understand the problem and its scope better than we do now.
I'm just curious, have you personally read any of the Me Too military stories that are out there?
I'm not on social media. I've not read them directly. I've certainly read a lot of the press reporting about those stories that have been on the social media.
Me Too stories are very personal. They're from the women themselves, and I would encourage you to take a look at some of those because I think they'd be very informative. Madam Chair, I yield.
Thank you, Ms. Haaland. Mr. Crow, you're recognized for 5 minutes.